So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, as usual, we'll be discussing Indian Express newspaper. We'll take up important articles from the newspaper today and then we'll try to analyze them. We'll see that if they are important from our prelims or mains point of view. Other than that, we'll be discussing one section, that is Know Our Constitution, in which we'll be talking about the Article 32 today. Okay, other than that, we will discuss these articles, that is Independence Day speech and UCC. In the speech, there are various things which has been talked about by PM, but he has also mentioned UCC. We will be specifically looking at the UCC, that is Uniform Civil Code. Okay, moving further, there is this monkeypox. WHO has actually declared a warning with respect to that, and that is why we will be seeing monkeypox. We will be looking at the causing factors, what are the symptoms, etc., which can be important for your examination. Then moving further, that is extradition treaty or the extradition laws in India. When we talk about extradition laws, these are being talked about recently because you know that there was this asylum which has been given to the Bangladesh former PM Sheikh Hasina in India, and now that there was this cases which has been registered in Bangladesh, so there is this demand that she should be returned to you can say Bangladesh. That has not been officially put forward, but these are the talks which are going on in the Bangladeshi media, and even their diplomats are talking about that. So basically, with respect to that, we will be seeing that what is extradition laws in India, what are the treaties which we have, or what are the principles which are followed when we are following such laws or the rules with respect to that. Okay, then here you can see this is the front page of the newspaper. This article we will be discussing, that is related to basically the PM's speech, and in that speech PM has actually given a pitch which is related to Uniform Civil Code. So we will be talking about this, that is PM's UCC pitch, time for secular civil code, lived 75 years with communal ones. Okay, then that was this heinous crime which has happened in Kolkata. So it was there, but we will not be dwelling deep into that. Okay, so that is for court and the government to do that. Now moving further, that was this question which was given to you in the previous lecture, that was in which country is the Kursk region located. Okay, so this is the region wherein Ukrainian forces has actually invaded. Okay, so basically this region is located in Russia. Okay, so if we talk about the specific location, it is on the Russia-Ukraine border. Okay, and recently Ukraine has basically invaded into this region, and that is why it was in news. So option C would be a right answer. Here in this map you can see this is basically Kursk region over here. This is the Russia, and when we talk about Ukraine, here you can see this is the border on which Russia-Ukraine border where Kursk is located, and Ukraine has invaded recently. Here you can see when we talk about the little bit southern part of the Ukraine, Russia has invaded in this particular region in 2022 February, and then here if we talk about this small region which is there. Okay, so that is basically your Crimea, which has been annexed by Russia in 2014. Okay, so that is about it. Now moving further, before that I would like to discuss that on the occasion of Independence Day, we have come up with the sale and we are giving 40% flat discount on all online pen drive courses, test series and DLPs. Okay, so to avail the offer, you can directly click in the link which is given in the description, or you can dial on these numbers, that is 8010440440 or 87501 Now this discount is available till 18th of August, so you can avail the offer. Okay, otherwise we will be providing the PDF of this session in the Telegram group, from which there is also a link button which is given over here, so you can avail the offer. Now moving further and starting with the discussion of the day, when we are talking about the Constitution, we were on the part 3, that is fundamental rights. We have discussed almost rights till 30, and when we talk about the Article 31, there are certain exceptions which are given with respect to the fundamental rights. Then moving further, Article 32, which will be important for us, so we will be discussing Article 32 today. Now when we talk about the Article 32, it is basically related to constitutional remedies. Constitutional remedies means over here is that why they have actually put this article under part 3, because this is also a fundamental right. Now what they are saying is that if at all any of your fundamental right which has been violated, we have discussed till 30, if any of the fundamental right which has been violated, then you can directly approach Supreme Court. And how will you do that? Under Article 32, because there are certain constitutional remedies which are provided in the form of various writs. Okay, so let's see. It states that the individual have right to approach Supreme Court seeking enforcement of other fundamental rights recognized by the Constitution. Okay, we have discussed till 30. Okay, moving further, here you will be seeing the Supreme Court has power to issue directions or order or writs for the enforcement of any of the fundamental rights. The writs issued by the Supreme Court includes habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. Basically, all of these writs are there for the specific purpose. Let's say when we talk about habeas corpus, that means that to present the body. So basically, court will give direction to the authorities or the person who has been accused over here to present the body of the victim in the court. Okay, so that is habeas corpus. Then there is this mandamus. Mandamus, with the name, it is you can say clear that there is something mandatory for someone to do and one was not doing it. So basically, if we see, if any arm of the, you can say, government, let's say executive, okay, so if these executive are bound to follow or perform certain duty and but they are not, at that point of time courts can mandate them or you can say direct them to perform that particular duty. Okay, so that is mandamus. Other than that, when we talk about prohibition, so in prohibition you can say court will try to prohibit one particular activity. Okay, so like that we have various writs. Okay, then we have certiorari, we have quo warranto. So these writs are given. This is part of your you can say static syllabus, which you can discuss or you can directly go into the books and you can talk about that. Now moving further, the right to move to the Supreme Court shall not be suspended except or otherwise provided by the Constitution. Now it is written over there that this right should not be suspended until unless it is provided by the Constitution, and there is one place where Constitution provides for that, that is Article 359. Okay, so in Article 359, if we talk about, so there is this you can say presidential order which can actually you can say suspend the you can use of this particular right. Here you can see, thus the Constitution provides that the president can suspend the right to move to any court for the enforcement of the fundamental rights during national emergency. At the time of the national emergency, president with their you can say a presidential order, he will mention that these following you can say fundamental rights are not enforceable anymore, so you cannot move to the court. Okay, so that is there. Okay, fine. Now we will be moving to the next part, which is basically related to you can say somewhere related to this only, that we have Article 32 wherein a citizen can move to Supreme Court. Okay, we have seen that. Now there is one more article which is talking about similar thing, that is 226, but that is not a fundamental right, that is a legal or constitutional right but not a fundamental right, wherein a person can move to High Court as well. Okay, generally which you have seen that if there is something which has happened, so you will go to the trial court, then there will be session court, and then you will be going to the High Court, then Supreme Court. Okay, but the thing is, in certain cases, like in the case of fundamental right, you can directly move to Supreme Court. But if a person wants to go to High Court, there is this article, that is Article 226. Now when we talk about the jurisdiction of the Article 32 as well as Article 226, High Courts have higher jurisdiction, because when we talk about Supreme Court can issue writs only in case of fundamental rights, but High Court can issue writs in other cases as well. Okay, so you can say that in this regard, High Court has a broader jurisdiction. Okay, now in the case of enforcement of the fundamental rights, jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is original but not exclusive. Now this is original jurisdiction because you can directly go to the Supreme Court. Okay, that is why it is original jurisdiction. Now they are saying that it is not exclusive because for that you can approach to High Court as well. Okay, so that is why it is original but not exclusive. It is concurrent with the jurisdiction of the High Court under Article 226, which we have seen. Article 226 of the Constitution empowers a High Court to issue a writ including habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto for the enforcement of the fundamental rights of the citizens and for any other purpose. Here you can say for any other purpose means that the High Court has a broader jurisdiction over here. Okay, so that is about Article 226 as well as Article 32. Okay, now we can move further to the discussion of the newspaper. We will see the first article, that is related to the Independence Day speech. We will see what are the highlights of the speech in the further slides, but as of now in this speech or in this article they have discussed the UCC. Okay, now PMS says that it has been more than 75 years of the independence and till now we are having communal courts. Okay, when we talk about these communal codes, what he has the meaning is that we still have personal laws. Okay, these personal laws are catering to the different section of the society or the communities for with respect to their religious practices as well. So now the thing is, here PM and their party or the ruling party has been advocating the UCC. Okay, in Uttarakhand recently you must have seen that there was this UCC which has been implemented in Uttarakhand. Okay, and before that, if we talk about an exception, that Goa is an exception. Goa is an exception wherein you already had the UCC. Okay, so that is why this has been discussed. So let's see. Here it is written, in our country, the Supreme Court has repeatedly discussed the Uniform Civil Code. Many times orders has been given because a large section of the country believes, and there is this truth in that, the civil codes that we are living, what is actually a kind of communal civil codes, and that is discriminatory in nature, and that is why they are advocating the Uniform Civil Code. Now, what is Uniform Civil Code? As of now, what happens that if we talk about the personal matters with respect to the marriage, divorce, etc., so there are various personal laws which has been being followed. Okay, so when we talk about Hindus, there are different Hindu Marriage Act is there. Okay, and then if we talk about the Muslim personal laws, they are being actually derived from the Shariat, and then if we see Christians and the Parsis, there are different personal laws. Okay. Now the thing is, these are different personal laws, so there are different practices. Now it can create a problem sometimes, because if we take an example of maintenance, now we have a provision in CRPC, former CRPC, when we are talking about, it has been replaced by the new codes. Now there is this section 125. This section 125 is basically related to the maintenance. Okay. Now in Muslim laws, this maintenance is not been talked about, or there are other versions which are there in the other statute which has been prepared for that. Now there is this other Muslim Women's Divorce and Protection of Rights Act which is there, and from where there is this provision of maintenance, but that maintenance has some restrictions. Okay. Now the thing is, if someone, a woman from the Muslim community, can go and directly, you can say, ask maintenance under section 125. Now the confusion is that court will follow which of the statute, whether to follow CRPC or the personal law, or that is also a statute which has been made by the government. So which one is to be followed? So these confusion can be created. Okay. Other than that also, if a Muslim woman is there, she is also a citizen of India. So why there is a discrimination that she will, for her there will be another act, and for rest of the, you can say, citizens, there will be section 125. Now because of all these, there is this talk of Uniform Civil Code. So basically what we are saying that when we are talking about the citizen of India, they should be governed by one law. Okay, so that is basically your Uniform Civil Code. Now coming to the definition, a Uniform Civil Code refers to a single law for entire country. Okay, a single law for entire country applicable to all religious communities in their personal matters such as marriage, divorce, inheritance and adoption. Okay, now adoption. Now when we are talking about the adoption or the inheritance, these are certain matters which are related to your personal life. Okay, so that is why generally we call that there are personal laws. Now moving further, it is intended to replace the system fragmented personal laws which currently govern interpersonal relations and related matters with different religious communities. For example, here you can see, for when we are talking about Hindus, we have different personal laws, which is over here. If we see, if we take the present status right now, so personal laws are subjected to marriage, divorce, inheritance and adoption, which we have seen. Okay. Now the Hindu personal laws have been codified in 4 parts by the parliament in 1956. So basically the Hindu laws has been codified. Now here you can see the Hindu Marriage Act is there, Hindu Succession Act is there, Hindu Minority and the Guardianship Act is there, then the Hindu Adoption and the Maintenance Act is there. Okay, so these are the 4 laws which has been there for the Hindu personal laws. Moving further, this when we are talking about this term Hindu, they are inclusive of the communities like Sikhs, Jains and Buddhist. Okay. Now moving further, here when we talk about the Muslim community, Muslim personal laws are not codified per se and are based on their religious practices, but there are certain acts, like here you can see the Shariat Application Act 1937, Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act 1939 and Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019. Okay, so these are the personal laws which are right now there in the practice. Okay, now for when we are talking about the Christians, Zoroastrians and the Jews, there are other personal laws. Now coming to the constitutional provisions, if we see, whether constitution talk about the uniform civil code or not. So here you can see article 44 in the DPSP, directive principle of state policy. In that there is this article 44 which is talking about the UCC. Here you can see Article 44 of the Constitution lays down that the state shall endeavour to secure a uniform civil code for the citizens throughout the territory of India. So basically that says that state in the long term has to go for the uniform civil code. That is being told by the drafters of the Constitution when it was drafted back in 1949-50s. Okay. Now Article 44 is one of the directive principles mentioned in the Part 4 of the Constitution. These, as defined in Article 37, are not justiciable, not enforced by any court, but principle laid down therein for the fundamental, you can say for the you can say simplification of the governance, or you can say it is some kind of guidelines which has been given by the Constitution to the state for the governance. Okay. Now these principles consist all the ideas which the state should follow and keep in mind while formulating policies and enacting laws for the country. So ultimately the intent of the constitution framers was that in the long run we will be going for the uniform civil code, but that has not been done, and that is why right now there is this you can say call by the ruling party with respect to the uniform civil code. Now we have seen that what is the current position, we have seen various laws which are there. Now what is the need of uniform civil code? Okay, now equality before law, we know that there is article 40 which talks about equality before law. Okay, so that is one thing because that is given in the constitution. Okay, so that is one thing because for every citizen there should be equal treatment. Okay, now moving further, consistency and the fairness, divergence personal laws, and addressing the gender inequality. When we talk about the divergent personal laws, we have seen that for Hindus there are 4 acts. Okay, then we have seen that for Muslims there are 3 acts, and these two you can say set of acts are basically different from each other. Okay, so basically you know that when there is a case in the judiciary, that create a lot of problem. Okay, so a lot of confusion can also be there. Okay, for example, I have told you about the maintenance. Similarly, there can be another facts as well. Now let's say if there is an inter-community marriage or something, in that case these confusions, these complications will enhance. Okay, so that is why we are saying that it is there are divergent personal laws, there is no uniformity between them, so that is why it is needed that we should have a uniform civil code. Now addressing the gender inequality, when we talk about the personal laws, these are based on or derived from the religious practices which are age old. Okay, and most of the time you will see these religious practices, or you can say these personal laws, they are not in favor of women community or the women section. So basically that is why there is this gender gap which will increase, and to address that we need to have a uniform civil code. Okay, like when we are talking about, for example, if we see triple talaq, okay, that has been held unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, but before that if you see, that was highly discriminatory against women, so that was part of the personal law. Okay, now moving further, gender equality, to come up with the legal reforms when we talk about various laws which are not gender neutral. Okay, so all for that we need to have a uniform civil code, legal reforms and the protections. Okay, now coming to the arguments which are, you can say, against the uniform civil code or the criticism of uniform civil code. Here you can see right to freedom of religion. Now we are talking about the right to equality over here, that is article 14. Similarly, we have right to practice our own religion, that is basically under article 25. Okay, now there is this argument that since these are derived from the religious practices, from the religious laws, so how can you interfere in them, because we have right to profess one's personal religion. Okay, so that is there. So one thing is that. Second is there is impact on the religious practices and the identity, which we have already discussed. Now minority rights and the cultural preservations. Okay, risk of erosion of the unique practices. Now if we see when we go for the uniform civil code, there are the term uniform itself is saying that we are homogenizing the process. Okay, so because of which there are chances that there are unique practices in different communities that might be at the risk. Okay, so that is one thing. So risk of the erosion of the unique practices, homogenization of the cultural diversity. Okay, because the word uniform means that there will be a homogenization. Okay, now practical challenges, that is implementation difficulties and balancing the diverse needs, because our country has vast set of people which are living, so we have a vast diversity, so ultimately implementation becomes a little bit difficult over there. So these are the some challenges which are there with respect to the uniform civil code. Now we have discussed these aspects, that we have seen the constitutional aspects, we have seen the what is the present scenario, we have seen the pros and cons with respect to the uniform civil code. Okay, now we can move to the next article, which is basically related to independence speech. As I told you, we'll be discussing the highlights of that. So here you can see, from the ramparts of the Red Fort, PM Modi spoke on the various issues, that is Viksit Bharat by 2047. Now, why I have taken this, that if you are preparing for mains, these are your cheat codes. Okay, so these things you can mention in your answer writings. Okay, so that is Viksit Bharat by 2047, that is secular civil code, because they have said that we are living in a communal one, so we need a, you can say, secular one. Okay, so that is there. Atrocities against women they have talked about. Other than that, there are 10 specific mentions which has been there. So here you can say, student spends lakhs and crore on the medical education, we will create 75,000 new medical seats in next 5 years. Okay, so that is emphasis on the health. Moving further, health and education, you can say. Moving further, it is the need of the hour to have a secular civil code, which we have already discussed. Okay, so that is about UCC. Moving further, he asked over 3 lakh governance units spread across country to carry out at least 2 reforms every year. Okay, so that is there. Moving further, to inject fresh blood to the enriched democracy, the PM issued a call to bring 1 lakh youth who do not have any political lineage into politics. Now this is a very progressive step, because if we talk about entering into politics, if you don't have a political background, or if you are not exceptionally you can say talented, in that case, if you want to enter into politics, that is very difficult. Okay, either you are in the having some kind of political background, or you are in the student politics, etc. So then you might, or otherwise you have a muscle or money power. Okay, if you don't have such things, then it is very difficult for you to enter into politics. Now this brings some kind of hope for the people who want to enter into politics. Okay, moving further, in the field of the design, we have we can contribute immensely to the world. We need to move forward with the version of design in India, design for world. Okay, so that is what, which has, these are the terms which you can use, that is design in India. When we talk about the make in India, digital India, so that can be part, that is design in India and design for the world. By this you can mention in the, you can say, Atmanirbhar, or you can say to increase the exports, to increase the manufacturing capacity. Okay, so that is there. Now sixth is Viksit Bharat 2047, which is there. Then PM pitched for the reviving Nalanda spirit. Okay, recently the Nalanda University has been actually revived, or you can say re-inaugurated, so that is there. Then point 4, more time. So okay, fine. The thing is, when we are talking about the politics in India, so there are various aspects which are, generally you will see that a young person like you and me cannot enter into politics if you don't have a background with respect to that. Okay, this debate can be, we can talk about this for hours, but the thing is, we have to finish this section. So for now, or for your examinations point of view, this point will do sufficient work. Okay, now moving further, Nalanda spirit, as I told you, when we talk about the ancient time, we had the Nalanda University, and that was a multidisciplinary university, and there was various you can say subjects which were being taught, and the way it was taught was different. Okay, so we are trying to revive that particular spirit. Okay, we have seen that people from various you can say parts of the world, they have come and visited Nalanda at that point of time. So that can be the scenario. We can be an educational hub as well. So that is there. Recently Nalanda University has been re-inaugurated, so you can keep a tab on that. Now women, he said, have taken leadership role in every sector, but expressed concern over the atrocities against them. I can sense people's anger, he said, adding that speedy justice is a necessary step in such cases. Okay, so that was the mention which has been done by him. PM said India will always be well wishers for Bangladesh's progress, because recently, that in Bangladesh there are certain issues which are going on, and the Bangladeshi Hindus has been somehow violated over there. So that is there. Indian wants security of Hindus minorities to be ensured, he said. Okay, then last one is we have met climate targets set under the Paris Agreement ahead of the schedule, and India is the only nation among G20 countries to do so. So this is the important fact which you can remember. Okay, India is the only country to achieve the climate related whatever commitment which we have given under the Paris Agreement, we have fulfilled them. Okay, and India is only country to do that in the G20s. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now we can move further in the next part. Now this is related to Mpox. Now if we go into details of it, that will be little bit technical. I will try to go through all the throughout the article, but in the end we will be discussing the factors which are important for us, that is about the monkeypox. If in prelims if they ask something, so that would be sufficient. Right now we will be talking about the article. So the World Health Organization has actually sounded an alarm over here, highest level of alarm, declared Mpox as a public health emergency in the of the international concern. Okay, so that is public health emergency of the international concern, which Mpox has been you can say declared recently by the WHO. Now what will happen after that, because specific attention will be given to this particular disease. Recently the cases has increased in some part of Africa. Okay, when we are talking about this particular Mpox, it was started from Sweden. Okay, recent outbreak if we are talking about, that started from Sweden and then it reached to Africa. Okay, so coming to the article here, it is the second time the infection has received the designation. Okay, so earlier also in I guess July 2022, there was outbreak which has been there that actually continued till 2023, and that point of time also it was actually declared as the public health emergency of the international concern. Okay, so this particular disease since 2022 to 24, this is the second time it is becoming a health emergency. Okay, now Democratic Republic of Congo DRC and the neighboring countries are basically facing this particular problem. Okay, nearly 99,176 cases has been detected and there are deaths of 208%. Okay, and when we are talking about the spread of the Mpox since 2022, we can see that there are 116 countries in which it has been there. Okay, now what is Mpox? It is a self-limiting viral infection. Okay, so one thing which is clear, that is it is a viral infection. Okay, it is called as monkeypox because it was actually found from monkeys at that point of time. In monkeys this was this viral infection, and that is it was called monkeypox. And since it is a zoonotic disease, okay, so it can transfer from animals to human, and that is why it has been named as monkeypox. Later it was actually the name was changed to Mpox. Okay, so you can remember that. Now the symptoms are fever, headaches, muscle ache, back pain, low energy, swollen lymph nodes, and you can say rashes like in chickenpox we have rashes, and similar rashes will be there for 2 to 3 weeks. Now it is a self-limiting disease, but the thing is it can be deadly as well. It can take your life as well. Okay, so that is there. Now moving further, in cases wherein there was these severe infections, and that is not being limited by itself. Okay, and if your immunity is weak, if you are a kid or you can say elderly, in that case there are high chances that it can be fatal. There can be a death as well. Okay, now reported in humans since 1970, it mostly affected the people in the endemic regions in Africa till 2022. So most of the cases you will see that are there in Africa. Okay, what is the driving the current scenario when we are talking about the current particular infection or the pandemic which is there? So here you can see there is this variant, that is clade 1b. Okay, so when we talk about Mpox, there are two you can say division. You can say the virus has been divided in two sections, that is one is clade 1 and clade 2. Okay, so clade 1 B, that is one variant of virus and which is being spread recently, and it is a sexually transmitted disease. You can say it is spreading through the sexual contact. Okay, so before that we were not aware of such situation that it can spread through the sexual contact as well. Okay, clade 1 and clade 2, which are the former deadlier, the former one is deadlier, that is clade 1 is deadlier. Right now we are facing the clade 1 only. Okay, sexual transmission of clade 1 infection has not been reported previously, transmitted from the animals to human in the closer proximity. As I told you, it is a zoonotic disease. Now what about India? Does India has you can say risk? So yes, India, when we see the state like Kerala, the most of the community over there, they are going for the international travels as well. They are working outside as well. So we have seen when there was this last outbreak, we have seen that in India also there was some cases in Kerala first and then in Delhi as well. So that was there at that point of time, and since it is a public health emergency of international concern, so we should also be cautious about it. Okay, so that is about it. Are there vaccines for Mpox? At least 2 vaccines currently in use for Mpox. Okay, when we talk about Mpox, you must have heard about the smallpox as well. So the vaccines of smallpox can be nearly 85% effective in Mpox, but the thing is these vaccines are not readily available, because this was eliminated. This disease was eliminated long back. Okay, so that is about Mpox. Here you can see there are certain facts which can be important. It is a viral zoonotic disease which we have discussed. It can be transferred from animals to human. Okay, originally identified as smallpox like disease in monkeys, and hence it is not named as monkeypox. Later it was changed to you can say Mpox, and it was endemic to Nigeria. Okay, caused by monkeypox virus, a member of family that is Pox viridae. Okay, Pox viridae family's member is there, and because of which this particular you can say disease has been caused. Now the sources, if we talk about, it includes monkeys, apes, rodents, okay, rats, squirrels and rabbits, etc. Natural host is not yet known. Prevalent in mostly in the African countries. Symptoms we have already discussed, that there will be infection, there will be rashes, there will be swollen lymph nodes, and then there will be fever and the headache. Okay. Now anti-smallpox vaccine was found to be 85% effective in preventing the cases of the monkeypox, but the thing is that vaccine is not readily available, because smallpox was you can say declared or you can say it was eliminated in 1980s. You can say world has been declared smallpox free in 1980s. Okay, so that is about the monkeypox and the related issues. Okay, now moving further, we will be talking about the next article, that is related to the center's guidelines for the special assistance to states finalized. Rupees 10,000 crore incentives will be given. Okay, now here this particular special assistance has been announced in the budget. Okay, and now this is an attached kind of funding. Okay, or you can say there are certain incentives which are attached to the certain level of work. Okay, so if you are going for the land reforms, okay, if you are going for land reforms, then you can take funds from this. Okay, so there is this categories in which this funding will be given. Okay, so let's see. Rupees 10,000 crore in incentives for implementation of the land related reforms in rural as well as urban areas. That is one thing. Rupees 5,000 crore for creating farmers registry during the financial year of 24-25. Okay, other than that, there are, you can see, various areas wherein they have gone for this scheme. 2,000 crore for the development of the iconic tourist center to global scale. 3,000 crore for the incentives for the scrapping old vehicle. Okay, 15,000 crore for the industrial growth. 10,000 crores for development of the NCR region. Then 5,000 crore incentives for the land related reforms by the state governments in rural areas. 5,000 crore for the construction of the hostel for working women. Then 5,000 crore incentives for the state's farmer registries, which we have seen. 5,000 crore for the land related reforms in the urban area. Okay, and 4,000 crores in the implementation of SNA spurs model for just time release, that is there. Okay, so these are, or 25,000 crore incentives for achieving targets fixed by the capital expenditure. Okay, so these are the targets which has been given by center to various states, and if states are performing, then they will be taking funds from these particular, you can say, the money which has been announced over here. So what kind of land reforms we are talking about over here? So basically what they are saying, that in the rural areas the land will be divided, and each parcel of the land will be given a unique identity number. Okay, that is called Bhu Aadhar. On the lines of Aadhar which we have, there will be a Bhu Aadhar. Okay, now you can say that this is kind of a digitization of the land. Okay, land reform or the land records. Okay, so that is there. So here you can see, states will need to undertake the land reforms related in the rural areas. Assignment of a unique land parcel identification number, that is ULPIN, that is, or Bhu Aadhar for all lands. Digitization of the cadastral map, survey of of map subdivisions according to the current ownership and the establishment of the land registry. So basically they are trying to give a number to a land parcel, and then they are trying to identify this particular land belongs to which person or whom. Okay, so ultimately you can say that is kind of a digitization step which has been taken by the center, and state has to perform on that. Okay, when we talk about the urban areas, here you can say digitization of the land records using GIS mapping. Okay, establishment of the information technology based system for the property record administration, updating, and the tax administration. So basically you can say that that is basically digitization of the land records in the rural as well as the urban areas, and these are the incentives which has been given by the or announced by the central government to the various states which are performing on these lines. Okay, now moving further to the next article, which is related to, you can say, extradition laws. Here you can see Dhaka looks at Hasina's extradition option, says interim foreign advisor, and that is being discussed in Dhaka till now, and India has not yet responded to that. Okay, now that is the news, and we will be talking about the background of it, or you can say the static part which is related to it, that is extradition. Okay, so how India what kind of laws India has with respect to the extradition, okay, and how these are implemented, etc., etc. Okay, so let's say extradition is a process by which one state, upon request of another, affects the return of a person for trial for a crime punishable by the law of the requesting as well as the you can say requesting state, and committed outside the state of the refuse. So basically here, in the simple words, let's say some kind of crime has happened in a particular state, and the criminal has fled to another, you can say, country. Okay, so in this case Sheikh Hasina has actually fled to India, okay, as she seek asylum over here. Now there has been certain FIRs which has been filed in Bangladesh against Sheikh Hasina. Okay, now if and when there is an FIR, that means that there is some crime which has been there. Okay, and now it is for court to decide, so there will be a trial. And since that person is not available there for the trial, and that is why this extradition comes into picture, so that that person can be returned by the country where it has seeken the asylum to the requesting country. Okay, so in this particular case, Sheikh Hasina has come to India, and there was this FIR in Bangladesh. So now Bangladesh is saying that India has should return her back. Okay, because there can if we have the treaty or not, we have to see about that. Okay, now extradition process or the extradition person includes the those charged with a crime but not yet tried. Okay, so that can be a person who has charged with the crime, or you can say there is an FIR against that particular person but trial has not started. Okay, then those tried and convicted who has escaped the custody. A person who has tried and been convicted but he has escaped the custody and fled to another country. Okay, and those convicted in the absentia, if this person has been there and that has not been in the country, and in the absence, or you can say there was this ex parte decision which has been given, at that point of time, if he is being living outside that particular country, he can also be considered as the extradition person, and that there can be a request to bring him back. Okay, so that is the process of extradition, and who can be you can say extradition person. Okay, now moving further, what are the laws saying with respect to that in India? In India, the extradition of a fugitive criminal is governed under the Indian Extradition Act 1962. It is for both extraditing person to India and from India. Okay, so if someone is coming to India or someone has left from India, okay, let's say it will be applicable to Vijay Mallya as well, and it will be applicable to Sheikh Hasina as well. Okay, now I'm not saying that they are having same kind of offense, because there is this allegation or there is this FIR which has been filed by in the Bangladesh against Sheikh Hasina, and there is this economic when we are talking about Vijay Mallya, he is economic offender. Okay, so these are two different categories altogether, but for example you can understand that now the basis of the extradition could be a treaty between India and the country. Now to every country you cannot return the, you can say, let's say someone has fled from Pakistan to India, there was this person who has this threat to life. Okay, or you can say from Pakistan the person comes because there is this you can say wrong allegation which has been put against him. So in that case we don't have a treaty with Pakistan. Okay, so in that case we will not be going for the extradition. Okay, Now, this was just an example saying that if you have the treaty, then only these you can say rules will be applicable. At present, India has extradition treaty with more than 40 countries and extradition agreement with 11 countries. Okay, so that is there. Now, moving further, what are the principles which governs this? Okay, so here you can see the extradition applies only to such offences which are mentioned in the treaty. Now, in that particular treaty, if they have mentioned that for this crime we will be going for the extradition, okay, otherwise it will not. Okay, next is it applies the principle of dual criminality, which means that the offence sought to be an offence in the national laws of the requesting as well as the requested country. Now, the principle of dual criminality means that in both the countries, if we see, there was this you can say a particular act is seen as crime. In that case only there can be an extradition. Okay. Now, the requested country must be satisfied that there is a prima facie case made against the offender. That is basic you can say requirement. The extradition should be made only for the offence for which the extradition was requested. Okay, only offence for which the extradition was requested, and only for that only you can go for the extradition. Okay, so it cannot be possible that if you have asked for the extradition for a particular crime and then you when these talks are being going on, at that point of time you are changing the offense, or you can say you are adding another offense at that point of time. That cannot be done. Okay, now last is the accused person must be provided with a fair trial. So that is the you can say principle of natural justice, and a person who is been accused, that should be given a fair trial. Okay, so that is about the extradition and the principle followed in the extradition. Now next is related to Jaishankar's visit to Kuwait on August 18. Okay, so this visit will be there on 18th of August. Before that, there will be a third Voice of Global South summit in virtual format. When we see India is emerging as a leader of the global South. Okay, and so there will be this summit, and after this summit, S. Jaishankar will be going for a visit to Kuwait. So and they will be discussing various global aspects or the global issues over there. So that we will see after the visit. But right now, what is important is the location of the Kuwait. Okay, so here you can see Kuwait is somewhere over here, and there are bordering countries like Iraq, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Okay, and when we are talking about this particular area over here, that is the Gulf. Okay, so you can remember that. And other than that, there is this strait, that is Strait of Hormuz, which is important for you, and then there is this Gulf of Oman, and here we have extension of the Arabian Sea. Now here what is important is that there are three countries which are having land boundaries with you can say Kuwait, that is Iran, Iraq and Saudi Arabia. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one, that is the new round for Gaza truce talks start in Doha amid fears from the Iranian attack. This is just a development that another round has been starting in Doha, that is basically you can say capital of Qatar. Okay, so that you can remember. With that would be all for today, I guess. In the end, there will be a practice question, that is which of the following best describe the provision of Article 44? A. It mandates the creation of uniform civil code. B. It guarantees the right to freedom of speech. C. It deals with the regulation of religious practices. D. It provides for the protection of minority rights. So you can attempt this question, answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Have a nice day. Thank you.